I've been watching, over the last couple of days, especially, in between, trying to. Well, today, you guys want a little Christmas story? It's quite lovely. My sister and her husband came over at my dad's, and we had Christmas there. We have multiple it's helicopter holidays, so we'd fly Camden everywhere to hit my son to see all the relatives because it's time to parade the child, right? And so I have to, I bring him to them and sees the grandparents, and then goes and sees the aunts and uncles, the older ones, and then we go to Vegas and we have our, Christmas with me in summer and all that, and it's a lot. Okay, so my my dad he lives kind of like on a hillside, as everybody in Kentucky does, and they just laid new gravel. And they drive a truck. Everybody drives a truck. It's all four-wheel drives. Everybody has a four-wheel drive. So no problems. But this is fresh gravel. It might as well be Play-Doh. And my mom pulls in late one night, a couple nights ago, and to have Christmas with us, and car gets stuck. Can't go anywhere. You back up a little bit, just digs down into it. By the time we tried to rock it back and forth a couple of times to get it out, it was up to the axles in gravel. So my sister and her husband show up, and we spend today, so we could get out of town on schedule and get here, attaching, finding these pin screws that go into the back of my mom's car, attaching we didn't have chains, so we had to use these giant moving straps and attach them to my brother-in-law's truck, and then he had to back it out as I steered it and shifted into reverse and neutral. And we managed to get it up the hill. It was an adventure. I'm just saying. It could have gone south a bunch of times. It had all the makings of a redneck Christmas horror story, and yet we managed to get out. My shoes are completely covered in gravel dust, in fresh gravel dust. It was an adventure, and that was just this morning. And we still had Christmas. We still unwrapped presents and did all that kind of stuff for Christmas number 1. And then we got in a car and drove up to Cleveland for 4 hours. So, yeah, it was the Sparks towing service, exactly. We did not, my dad's car did not have a winch on it, but my brother-in-law's car, he has one, but he didn't bring it up because he wasn't expecting to have to tow a car. So, I'm just saying, it's been a morning. But in between all of this stuff, there's been this, it gives you a sense of distance from some of the stuff that I normally talk about, and I don't get much, time off in between stuff. And you guys know that a lot of times when I'm doing the regular show, I'll do the morning show on one day, and then I'll be watching the news and reading at the same time until the 3 o'clock show with a cat on my lap, just, absorbing what's happening during the day and going down, rabbit holes of information during this. And so doing, with all this holiday stuff that's going on and driving through, I got, so there's no signal out where my folks live either. There's a little bit around where they are, but literally the point you get past their road, the cell service just falls off a cliff. And so I'm literally driving, running errands to go pick up a couple of last minute Christmas gifts and some food and stuff for the house. So I just kind of did the rounds at volunteer, and I set up my, set my GPS to go someplace or whatever. And literally there was nothing as soon as I pulled out of the driveway, essentially, no signal at all. And so I missed the one. I looked at the thing. I backed up and literally looked at the roads, but one of the signs had been either shot or taken down. And so I missed one of the turns that I was going to do, and it took me 23 miles out through the Kentucky hills around in this roundabout way because I knew which direction I was going. So I had to find the next big overpass and then get up onto it and go around. It was nutty. Anyway, so I'm driving through parts of Kentucky that are, there's no other word than forgotten. And interestingly enough, over where, like closer to where my dad was, there's a dude who has like Trump signs all over his yard, all over his porch. He's got this giant Trump flag, like a banner. It looks like a billboard size one draped across the front of his entire porch. And then he's got two big banner ones in the yard that are like 8 foot by 4 foot. And then he's got one on the fence alongside the house that's like 8 feet long. And looking at all these folks, like that guy's actually closer to the city. Like that guy's a guy with means, right? But then going out into the hinterland, out into these like impoverished areas, it's abundantly clear that there is a sort of a reachable blue collar, redneck world that is just kind of forgotten by the dude who puts the Trump signs all over his lawn. Beyond just the Republicans not giving a shit. Certainly Mitch McConnell doesn't. He counts on those people's votes, but they, and maybe assumes that they're going to be there. But these people, you can just tell they have too many problems to keep up with anything. Like as much news and information as I digest to do my show, none of these folks have any time for any of that. And it was a good, quite frankly, yes, they're buried in reality. That's exactly right, Kath. And so the idea that somehow that these are the folks that are going to show up for, in 2022 and carry water for Trump and blah, 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 and that you couldn't talk to these folks and that they're automatically, lost cause white supremacists or something like that is absurd. And most of them are just ice skating uphill every goddamn day. And you see them at the grocery store, and you see them at the, and it's the area where I grew up, and it was a reminder of what it was like, and it really has not changed all that much in the last 40 years. Yeah, you do have to give them time. But yeah, these rural southern folks that are around here, and it wasn't that far off the beaten path. Like the area where, my dad kind of is close to the interstate, so there, the houses are nicer and stuff. But you head straight out the other direction, miss one road, and you're in an area where it's easy to forget how forgotten they are. And most of those folks, by the way, the vast majority of them, if you got a flat tire, no matter what color you were, and your car was busted and you got stuck there, the whole town would come around and help you. Everybody there would either stand there, sucking their teeth and shaking their change, trying to figure out how to get you out of the ditch you were in, or participate in actually helping you. So it was a good reminder. And if you don't mind, if you guys can forgive me, since I am at my aunt's house, I'm going to beg off early this evening. I'll be on tomorrow for the morning show and the afternoon show as well, and hopefully with slightly better internet that's more reliable at my cousin's house. And I would like, to let that process as part of the Christmas message. As much as we were horrified tonight to watch Trump's Christmas, message, just this travesty at this church, the answer to that is not just to mock it because it deserves it and it's an absurdity and it's grotesque and it's hypocrisy, and but it's also to remember what in a simpler time, what Christmas meant to a lot of people. And what it meant was a sense of community. What they mean when those folks especially are saying people don't say Merry Christmas anymore. What they're really talking about is this kind of like, I feel like I'm surrounded by strangers and I don't even know my own community anymore, and I don't feel like I belong anywhere. And reassuring them that they do, in the same way that we respectfully recognize someone's pronouns, for example, in our community, and we make an effort to make people feel accepted and comfortable, that is equally, hearing Merry Christmas for those folks is equally accepting, even if it's not your belief system. You understand? Like, you don't have to actually, when you're, addressing someone who's telling you that they're, what their pronouns are, it's sort of not even your business whether you believe it or not, whether they're being sincere or not. It's more about your own personal level of charity, what you're capable of. And the same thing is true of Merry Christmas. And that's what it means, and it's what it should mean. And if you find yourself in a reflexive disdain about it, where you're like, ugh, that's how the MAGA crowd feels about people who want their pronouns recognized. That's how they feel. You're feeling their exact feeling. And so none of us are that far away from, some version of a preconceived notion that leads to prejudice, which is the seed of bigotry. That's right, I'm giving respect to the holler. And so it's because I love you guys and I appreciate you hanging out with me that I feel like I can talk to you like this. So it is not about what the Pastor Robert and Trump have made Christianity into and Christmas into. It's about what you can bring to it, always. And as I've always said, it's always harder to be a Democrat because it does mean being inclusive. It does mean being more respectful. And at this point, I only have disrespect for disrespect. If somebody has legitimate beliefs and they harm no one and you can show them a better version of that good, then by all means do it. So on that note, Merry Christmas. Thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you guys in the AM.